or anything?
No. We are not going to do that. All right. Hi, folks. We're going to talk tonight about parasites, those creepy, crawly critters. Now, you're probably never going to see parasites, but every living thing has another living thing living off of it. So you're not free of them. Everybody has them, but do they cause you an issue? So we're going to talk about that, and you may be having symptoms and you not even know. So everybody that's watching via YouTube, I want to let folks know we have a class every Tuesday night. It's free here at Go Natural Herbs and Fitness. We're on Valleydale Road. We've got a group of people here, and then I know we've got some people watching us on YouTube. Any of the products I'm going to talk about, you can read about on my website, which is rhondadial.com. Go to my website, click on product list, and you can read about any of the products we're going to talk about. The sheet of paper I am going over, and I'm going to show you that sheet of paper, comes from Sunshine Sharing, Stephen Horn's Tree Light Foundation. So if you want to get one of these, you can come into the office, or like I say, if you come to class, many times I do give out these sheets of information. We also have food sometime, and tonight we have food courtesy of Earth Fair. They are in Hoover on 150, and they gave us some pumpkin seeds. So one of the things you're munching on is raw pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds is a food, and they're green in color, kind of flat seeds, and they are a food you could eat to help with parasitic activity in the body. They're also very high in zinc. So they're a men and women can both eat them, but they're a man's best friend because zinc is a mineral that men really need to have, especially if they have any prostate issues or just issues being low in zinc, period, because it's an issue, you know, if you get a lot of sore throats and things you might want to look at. So it's a food rich in that mineral. The other thing we're eating on is kale chips. So most people know of kale. Kale is the vegetable, and they take it and they put it in the oven and dry it with a little bit of olive oil. And this one actually has garlic. I'm sure you can taste the garlic on the kale chip. Now, it's okay because everybody had garlic, so it's okay. Everybody's going to have garlic breath together. But the kale chip having, you know, it's got some cashews broken up on it, and it gives it that little cheesy flavor a little bit, but it also has the garlic. So we were wanting to have something that had garlic on it because most people know that garlic and parasites do not love each other. If you put garlic in your body, the parasites go, I need to move out of this house. And then the pumpkin seeds are also very beneficial for the intestinal system. So if you're trying to find a really good snack, especially to even give kids, pumpkin seeds work out great, along with any of the other seeds. And if it ends up just being us tonight, we have lots of extra. So y'all, they're sitting right there. Y'all go ahead and help yourself. Okay. So when I say parasites, I do want to say that they're more active around the full moon. Now, you would have to look at the calendar and see when that is. And then I want you to take the day of the full moon and think about the 5 days before that day and the 5 days after that day. So in that 10-day period of time frame, if you have symptoms during that time frame, and not really any of the other time frame, it could definitely be parasite related. I have a girlfriend, she used to have a little mole wart type of thing that would pop up on her finger, and it would only do it during that time frame, and the rest of the time it was not there. And so it was parasite driven. We knew that because of the time of the month that it would pop up. Now in science class, we all studied the full moon. It's not weird. It is actually the way the earth is, the moon, the earth, the sun. Okay, so gravity pull on the earth is stronger at the full moon. That's why they have more babies at that time frame. The police department will tell you the crazy people go crazier around that time frame. The insane asylums have more issues around that time frame. It's just the way it is. It's not weird, because when I say parasites are more active around the full moon, people go, woo, woo, and I'm like, no. It's actually scientific, okay? So just talk to somebody that works for the police department or the hospital and they'll confirm that for you, okay? Now, so understanding parasites, they're tiny little creatures that do similar things when they take up residence inside the body. These creatures feed off nutrients, leave their waste products in our body, and zap your energy. We call these unwanted creatures parasites, okay? There are many different types of parasites. Actually, there's about 2,000 different kinds of parasites because, believe it or not, over the years, I've been doing this 33 years, you would not believe how many people bring a jar in. Look what I got out of me. I really don't have to see them. It's not necessary. But people love to show off their parasites. So I've seen a lot of them. They all are a little different here and there. I'm not going to tell you this one's this and that one's that. I know people that do that, but that's not me, okay? Now, there's many different kind of parasites that can make your body their unsuspecting host. Besides various worms like tapeworms and ringworms, y'all probably maybe even had a ringworm in your life, right? There are microscopic single-celled organisms like Giardia, H. pylori, Candida, and amoebas, which can all be considered parasites. Now, did you know that?
I didn't think Candida. I thought that was a yeast thing.
Candida albicans, we think of yeast overgrowth, but I'll tell you this, yeast, fungus, mold, and parasites love each other, and they love to live together in the same house, the body being the house. So if you have toenail fungus and fever blisters, you might have some other things going on that you hadn't thought about. If your nose itches, your eyes itch in water, your ears itch in rain. See the holes. Think of where do you have holes in your body? Where are the holes? That is where things come and go. Microscopically, like I said, most people never see their critters. Now, some people do. Some people are eat, slap up with them and they see them. But a lot of people, they're microscopic. You don't visually see them. Let me tell you a story about me. When I was growing up, many a time, I would go to sleep at night. I'd wake up in the morning and I'd go, I can't see, because my eyelashes would be glued together with matter. I could not open my eyes. I would have to get a warm wash rag, put it on my eyes, take all that ooey gooey off. That's parasites. That is parasites. Now, I did not know that then, but I promise and guarantee that's parasites coming in and out of the eyes. Now, I had styes, conjunctivitis, the white part of my eye would bleed. It wouldn't bleed like you could touch it and it bleed. It would be bleeding on the inside. Now, I found out later that had to do with my blood sugar. That took years for me to find that out. But my senior portrait, you know how you take a senior portrait and then they send you proofs? They had to touch up the whites of my eyes because at that specific time frame, they were doing the little bleeding thing. And I mean, it happened all the time. It's normal for me. So there are over 1,000 organisms that are known to be parasites in human beings. And I have a book over here called Guess What Came to Dinner? And in that book, now I'm fixing to step on some toes early in this class. In that book, it tells you don't need to sleep with your animals because they have parasites and you have parasites, and you go to bed at night. And that's when things will come out of your holes, move around, come back in the holes. They might forget of which they came from and go in the other one. It's possible. I know, isn't that nasty? Are you starting to scratch yet? But it's true. Things can be transferred back and forth. That's why we don't let our kids play in the sandbox that the cat has decided to use or whatever it be, right? So you're thoughtful that a lot of this stuff can go back and forth, okay? Now, many of us think parasites are something that only affect people living in third world countries. And I've had people to have parasite symptoms, go to a doctor, and the doctor said, have you been out of the country? And that person say no, and they say, well, you can't have parasites if you haven't been out of the country. That is so not true. So not true.
Parasites are in the earth.
Parasites are in the earth. They're everywhere. And in our drinking water, you know, this Giardia that is mentioned, that used to be Montezuma's revenge in Mexico, but it has been in the United States for many years now. It's not just in other countries. Okay? However, as the quotes on the page 4 show, this simply isn't the case. Parasites are far more widespread in North America than most people are willing to believe. In fact, single-celled organisms are included. Probably 80 to 95% of us have at least one form of parasite inside our body, which may or may not be affecting our health. Now, how could it not affect your health? This is the deal. We have 5 major channels of elimination. We've taught this many times in this class. Colon, kidneys, lungs, lymphatic, and skin are your 5 major channels of elimination. If these channels are open and doing their job, going in, going out, going in, going out, right? 3 trains in, 3 trains out on poop, drinking plenty of water, sweating like you're supposed to. See, the channels are moving. Then the parasites go in and they go right back out. But what if you have any congestion in your body? You don't go poopy every day. I've had people tell me, I can go all day long without peeing. Well, that ain't good. That's keeping things inside of your body. You need to eliminate toxins. Never perspiring is not a good thing. You eliminate 3 to 5 pounds of toxins a day if you sweat, and don't if you don't. So keeping these channels open are very important to do. So that's where parasites will go in and go back out. But if you have congestion in your sinus cavities, oh, they love living in that mucus. They love you. If you have congestion in your colon, see, I used to be once a week or so. I had condos. They just moved in, set up house, had babies, secrete their waste, had they partied, and it contributes to a lot of your problems. Okay? Parasites are very hard to diagnose. A stool analysis may or may not reveal their existence because even if parasites are present, they may or may not be present in a particular stool sample. Fortunately, they do leave telltale signs of their presence. Chronic fatigue or illness, that just doesn't seem, is that right? Yeah, that just doesn't seem to get better. Nervousness, teeth grinding, diarrhea, ulcers, digestive pain, extremes of appetite, like you're just starving, weight loss or gain, anemia, that's a biggie, a big biggie, itching, especially in the rectal area, and lowered immune response. Now, I'm not going to ask y'all this question, but I'm just going to say it, and you don't have to say me. How many people have ever had their rear end to itch? Okay, I grew up personally with that being a common problem, and Mom would do the pinworm check, and we had pinworms growing up. Okay, we played in dirt all the time. So it's a very common thing, but I'll never forget getting phone calls, and I have in the middle of the night, with people just going crazy with pinworms as an adult, not just a child. So people do have itching in the rectum at any age, and that is a telltale sign that we have parasites in that part of your body. Now, let me give you a secret of what to do at that time, because in the middle of the night, you want to know the answer. Promise. We have this oil called garlic oil, and it's in a little gel cap, and you can poke a hole in the gel cap and then insert it in your rectum. The parasites will leave that area. They do not like garlic. Now, that's not the way to totally and completely get rid of them, but at that hour, it is. They'll leave that general vicinity and go back up inside. Now, you'd really rather come out of the body, but we don't have time for that right now at 3 o'clock in the morning. So later, we might take some garlic, you know, and you could eat garlic, the food, but it is an interesting food. And of course, we ate it on the kale chips tonight, but You could also, we have one called high potency garlic, and it's got a lovely little coating on it. It's kind of a very dark green color, almost looks black. And high potency garlic is equivalent to like a clove of garlic, but it has that coating so you don't burp and taste garlic. Not everybody knows you've taken it that way. And that orally could be a way later on you could get things moving back out of your body. Okay. Now we're going to talk about many different supplements tonight, but that is one for sure. Now, even when diagnosed correctly, parasites can be hard to eliminate. It takes powerful medications to kill parasites, and typically those medications are very toxic to healthy tissues. So keep that in mind. There are natural things that you could do that are not so toxic to the body. So we're going to talk about that, okay? Now, we're going to flip over here. I'm not going to go into every single thing that's written on this sheet of paper. I want y'all to read it. But it does go into the types of parasites. Now, not all of them, but these are some very common ones. It goes into the nematode worms, the tapeworms, the giardia, and yeast and fungus, bacteria. It goes into some of those things. So we'll discuss those briefly. But the center square, let me get me some water. Okay, the center square says avoiding parasites. This is the best way to help deal with parasites and avoid them coming into your body. Properly cook all meats, especially fish, shellfish, and pork. Freezing meat for a couple of months also kills parasites. Wear shoes in infected areas, especially around public toilet areas and in your home if you have animals. And that's because of what I just said. Animals have critters too. So I love to go barefoot, y'all. But I do have animals that come inside my house. They go outside, they go inside. So you need to be thoughtful about that. Keep your clothes clean and hands and fingernails washed, especially wash after handling animals and animal droppings. Drink only properly treated water. So it needs to be clean. Now we've talked about that in here many a times. Take probiotics like acidophilus, bifidophilus. We have probiotic 11. We have several different types of probiotics, especially when you're traveling. Because are you going to be more exposed to things when you're traveling because you're sleeping in different areas? You don't know about the cleanliness aspect. You're eating food out a lot when you're traveling. You don't know how well they have prepared the food. And then the other thing is keep your gastrointestinal tract clean and healthy. A healthy GI tract resists parasites. We just said that, okay? Nematodes are tiny worms and include pinworms, whipworms, hookworms. All of those fall into that category. Now you can look these up individually. It does give their scientific name as well. The most prevalent of these is pinworms. Now, just if you don't mind, I just told y'all I had pinworms growing up. How many of y'all had pinworms growing up? Okay. Don't know? Okay. Well, I knew a lot of other people that had issues with it. It wasn't just us. But like I say, I grew up in the era where you played outside until it got dark. You know, you stayed outside all day long. I hung out on the creek beds and we'd catch crawdads and you just did all kinds of stuff where opportunity to get that kind of thing.
Will that make you stronger?
I think it does make you stronger, yes. Because you've been exposed to all kinds of different viruses and bacteria. Because in reality, growing up, I was not very sick, like had to stay home from school sick. So, yeah. Now, let's see. They are highly contagious, these pinworms, and are easily passed around the family. Pinworm eggs can contaminate clothing, bed linens, toilet seats, and even be transported through the air. When the egg is ingested, the worm hatches in the intestines, and their eggs are passed from the rectum. Pinworms can also affect different other parts of your body and the uterus and all that kinds of things in a woman's tubes. And those can cause some fertility issues, believe it or not. Now, they're one of the easier parasites to detect. And then, of course, they're fairly easy to work on too. But some symptoms that you might have these go around is nervousness, inability to concentrate, lack of appetite, and unusual dark circles around the eyes. Now, I will say that a lot of people that I see that have worms many times are very, very skinny sometimes. Now, growing up, I was one of those people. I was in gymnastics. I was very active, but back then you wear this leotard with the zipper up the back, and I would do this little, somersault thing on the beam, and it would cut through my spine because it stuck, my spine would stick out on that zipper and it hurt. And then you could just see my ribs. You could see exactly where they were. So I was painfully skinny back then. A lot of other people were too, but I think a lot of it was parasite activity now looking back. The other thing is, if you watch TV and they're interviewing and talking about ADD with children, watch a child play video games and they're talking about him having ADD. Watch how many times he goes, and I sat there one night and watched this kid scratch as they were talking about him, and he was sitting there playing a game, but he kept on not being able to sit still. And the way I describe it in class many times is the children of today cannot play freeze tag. We grew up and we played freeze tag.
Yeah.
Do you know any children now playing freeze tag? Because most people couldn't do it, because freeze tag means freeze and you can't move. And so many children nowadays have all of this nervousness issue and they can't be still in class or anywhere else, on the playground even. So I think parasites are more active in children and adults than we realize. Okay, gets into all these other kinds. Tapeworms are something I heard stories of growing up with some of my relatives. And many times when you pass either all of these or a section of these, you will see them. They'll come off and can be very long, usually flat. It says one of these are the most emotionally disturbing parasites because of their size. When people pass them, they're like, oh my gosh, what came out of my body? Because they can come out of little kids and all that kind of stuff.
And they'll come out of your dogs.
And they will come out of dogs, yes.
And you'll be like,
right.
Are those people usually more hungry because the tapeworm eats your
The
food?
tapeworm can also affect the appetite of the individual, definitely. When passed, these segments look like grain or uncooked rice or cucumber seeds. This is one of the ways they can be diagnosed. Other symptoms of tapeworm include diarrhea, that's most commonly, sometimes constipation. Some people lose weight with tapeworms, but it is more common to gain weight and retain water. These tapeworms will raise your blood sugar levels and cause anemia and interfere with B12 uptake. So if you know that you're chronically anemic and you can't seem to figure out why, and when you get tested at the doctor's office, you can't absorb your B12, you're taking it, but you're not absorbing it right, these critters may be taking your nutrients, and that's what's going on. All right, natural remedies, therapies, different things that you can do. I want you to read about these because not everybody needs all of these and different people need different things. But we have a product called Paracleanse. Paracleanse is a 10-day parasite cleansing program. Now, the reason it's 10 days, remember I said that 5 days before and 5 days after the full moon? That's your best time to take that Paracleanse. Now, you can take it other times, but that's the best time to take it. Most people take it 10 days on and then 10 days off and then 10 days on and 10 days off. The herbal pumpkin has pumpkin seeds like we're eating tonight, but it also has some other herbs in there. Artemisia combination, and we've already talked about the garlic, but also the high potency protease. Now that is used between your meals in this kind of a situation. Now Giardia A lot of people are familiar with that, but like I say, they've always thought about that you got that when you went to Mexico or whatever it be. It is a waterborne disease in the United States, and it's picked up by drinking or swallowing contaminated water. Because Giardia forms cysts that are not destroyed by chlorination, they must be filtered from water. So symptoms of Giardia are diarrhea, gas, upset stomach or stomach cramps, nausea, greasy stools that tend to float. Symptoms usually appear 7 to 14 days after you've been exposed. So a lot of people will go out of the country, get exposed to Giardia, come back and be fine, and then 7 to 14 days later, they are sick as a dog. Now, activated charcoal and golden seal are two things to consider to help this Giardia. Now, the charcoal, though, just know you would want to take that as soon as symptoms happen. People call me all the time and they say, oh, Rhonda, I just had to call you. I've had diarrhea now for 3 days. You should have called me the first day, because that's when you want to start taking the activated charcoal. So in class, we've talked about go ahead and get the charcoal, have it on hand so you don't have to order it or get it in. Already have it, because at some point in your life, you're going to need to have the activated charcoal. And that's as soon as you start having symptoms, vomiting, diarrhea, whatever it be. Yeast, fungus. Various strains of yeast and fungus, such as Candida albicans, can also be considered parasites. Yeast weakens the intestinal membranes, making them more permeable. They also weaken the immune system. Yeast overgrowth is very common after a person has had several rounds of antibiotics. So Pardiarco and yeast fungal detox are good remedies for fungal infections, that type of thing. That's what it's historically used for. Now read up on these. You're not going to need both, because Pardiarco is in yeast fungal detox, but I love Pardiarco. I have used that for so many different things. Yeast, fungus, mold, parasites, that direction. We have it in 4 forms. We have a tea, we have a capsule, we have an extract, and we have a lotion. So depending on what's going on, it can really work well.
What would be some of the symptoms that you had yeast and fungus that you would probably want to be taking the?
I have a little kind of checklist on my website about yeast and candida, because it's so wide and varied.
Yeah.
People think, well, yeast is like a yeast infection vaginally. Yeah, but there's so many other things. You know, the thrush in the mouth can be the eating this much food but feeling like you ate that much food. After you eat, that bloating sensation can be, the stool not being right can be a thing, either constipation or diarrhea, either one. The foggy thinking, you know, because yeast can get in your brain. It can just be so many different possible symptoms, but I do have some of that on my website. And there's a book that's been around forever and a day called The Yeast Connection. You can read up on that, and it'll go through some things too.
Even the toe thing, the toe fungus.
Toe fungus is another thing. Yes, right. Jock itch, athlete's foot, all of those. Now, bacteria. This is going to go into the H. pylori bacteria. We don't usually think of bacteria as parasites, but some strains could be considered parasites, such as H. pylori, which involve the development of ulcers. So golden seal, and we have a product called Gastro Health. So when people test for that, I know something going on, and most of the time people will relate to gastrointestinal disturbances, you know, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, nausea, gas, all of those things can possibly link back to this. And of course, I test people to see. But years ago, I worked with this guy from Miami, and he came to see me. He was a relative of one of my regular clients, and he had severe migraines. Now, I checked him out, and all the normal things that you would check people for migraines didn't test out. And I said, well, I just don't know. I said, you've got a lot of digestive stuff going on, but I don't know about these migraines. And he goes, digestive stuff? I don't have any digestive symptoms. And I said, oh, well, you're testing for some stuff that shows me that you got something going on there. So he decided to just take the stuff that I recommended. He called me back 24 hours later, because he had had this migraine going on for months, every single day. He called me back 24 hours later and told me the migraine had gone away when he started his supplements. And then I said, do you mind giving me a call back in about a week and let me know how things are going? He called back in a week and he said, I hadn't had a headache one single day since I started taking those supplements. And I was like, wow, that's a testimony. Now, later, I was hearing someone speak and they said 10% of the time when people have, this H. pylori, it can cause migraines. Only 10% of the time, but I mean, for those people who are going, what is wrong with me? Nobody can find out what the problem is. It's something to consider. So I found that to be very interesting. That was an aha moment for me. I learned something that day.
H. pylori is something the doctors can.
Doctors can
for.
diagnose and test you for that. Now, their solution are very high, powerful antibiotics.
Mhm.
For a person who in the past has had yeast overgrowth issues and a lot of gastrointestinal things, they go, oh no, I got to take antibiotics again. So just know you've got choices. It's up to you. Okay, we're going to talk about some supplements that can possibly help this. Now, again, don't go out and buy all this stuff because one of these, two of these things would probably be all you need. And of course, people can come in for a consult and I'll check them out. Or if they read through it and they hear something they might want to try, you're welcome to, but do one thing at a time. And know that wherever the exit is, closest to where these parasites are, is probably where the cleanse is going to occur. So when I had all these parasites in my head, remember I was talking about my eyes? So I had all these parasites in my head. I also never, growing up, I had eczema, of course, and that was on my skin, but I never had earwax. I had this crusty junk in my ears, never earwax. And so when my body decided to clean out the parasites, what happened was one day I woke up and my scalp was swollen and red and very itchy. And then a few hours later, it moved on my forehead and it was swollen and itchy. And then this part went away as it moved down here. Woke up the next morning and this whole left side of my face was swollen and itchy. And then it just, in other words, they were moving out and they were slowly, now once they got from here down, they just kind of, went on out of the body really quickly. But that's called a healing crisis or a cleanse. And my scalp condition that I had had for over 22 years immediately was better and went away. So when the critters move out and when you get this cleanse going on, amazing things will happen because I was told I had eczema from the time I was born. I'd have it for the rest of my life. And of course, that is not true because I don't have it anymore. So that was a big contributing factor. But I looked really weird and a lot of people go, whoo, my face is swollen. I got to go to the doctor. Oh, I got to get prednisone or whatever it be. I did not do that. I knew it was a cleanse. Now, I looked horrible, but I took a picture of it because I wanted to say, look at this. But then it went away. So within 3 days, a cleanse, a healing crisis is usually going to be gone. So Artemisia combination contains two very potent anti-parasitic herbs, wormwood and mugwort, along with other remedies that can help get rid of these unwanted guests. So look up that. You'll see all the different things that are in there. It's got turmeric and olive leaf too, which are excellent. And it is a very, very good blend. A lot of people will test for this. Now, do consider that you want to be very careful not to use this. If you are pregnant or nursing, you do not do a parasite cleanse. Okay, that's very important. Plus, a couple of the herbs that we typically use for parasites, one being black walnut, you don't take when you're nursing because it will dry your milk up. Parsley, sage, and black walnut will dry your milk up. So you want to be very careful and considerate of that, okay? Yeast fungal detox helps to knock down that yeast overgrowth in the intestines. And of course, you've got to do the yeast-free diet as well, but this is a supplement that can also help along with that. And then one that you might consider is herbal pumpkin. I use this a lot with all kinds of folks, but I like it a lot for guys. Like I say, it's got those pumpkin seeds in it, rich in zinc naturally. It's also very helpful for different kind of prostate issues that folks go through. So pawpaw celery. Now we think about this one more specifically when people have serious health concerns, but it can also be taken with yeast overgrowth, parasite things, and you can even put this in shampoo if you have another type of parasite called lice. Now, I hope y'all never have that, but it can happen to anybody at any time. So this one many times we'll add to shampoo in that kind of situation. And you will get asked that question at some point. Now, it puts a lot of these things together. If y'all see this long rectangular thing, it'll talk about pre-program, prevention, diagnosis, the post-program, all of that kind of thing. And it mentions probiotics. Probiotics are very important, especially after you do a cleanse, to restore the good bacteria, especially if you're getting rid of parasites in the body. Okay, so keep that in mind. Gastro health, we kind of talked about that earlier. It's got cardiarco and clove and elecampane and licorice root. And these have been tested and proven effective against the H. pylori bacteria. And then single herbs like golden seal. You know, a lot of people say, well, golden seal, doesn't that fall into that natural antibiotic direction? It can, but it can also be very effective for the giardia aspect that we're talking about too. Garlic, we've already discussed that, and you can eat garlic or you can take that high potency garlic. Black walnut is frequently used for parasites, and it's also thought to kill the eggs. Now, parasites lay eggs. That's why when I was talking about the Paracleanse, you take it for 10 days and you don't take it for 10 days, because believe it or not, they are a little smart. And when you take it for 10 days, you'll kill off the ones that are alive, but the eggs that haven't hatched yet will not hatch while everything's being destroyed. And then you wait 10 days and they go, oh, the coast is clear. And they hatch back out, and then you take it again another 10 days and you can kill off those. So that's why people do it, don't do it, do it, don't do it. Okay. And I'll never forget working with this older woman, this real fine, refined little old lady, and she was just, everything was perfect and everything. And she lived in this little trailer down in Florida, and she loved to work in her garden and plant flowers and all this stuff. And she had psoriasis that was driving her crazy, and she had not ever had it before. But all of a sudden, she has all this stuff all over her skin. She comes to see me in a consult. I test her, and I said, I'm so sorry to tell you that you test for Paracleanse. Parasites? Oh my gosh, parasites. How would I get parasites? She's this perfectly clean little woman. But I said, but you love dirt. You work in dirt all the time. And I said, parasites are in dirt. The wind blows, they're in the dust. You know, and they get inside you and grow. And obviously, something like that's gone on. So even though she thought I was a crazy woman, she took the Paracleanse. And then she waited 10 days, and then she took it again. I come back down there a month later, and she said, look at my skin. It had all cleared up. And she had gone to the dermatologist. She had done the deal, and nothing was getting any better. But nobody had talked to her about parasites. And even though a lot of people don't want to think they got them, sometimes they can be a what's going on. Ginger can also be very helpful. You can get ginger root and eat it, or we do have it in a capsulated form. And I like ginger. I do a smoothie almost every day. You know, I do the Love and Peas or the Nature's Harvest or the Smart Meal, you know, smoothies that we have in Nature Sunshine. And I love to get ginger root and peel it and just put it in my smoothie. It gives it that kick flavor-wise, and it aids in digestion as well. Now, if you don't like the way ginger tastes, or you don't have the ginger root, like say, we do also have it in a capsule. And some people like to open up the capsule and make ginger tea and sip on that. So lots of different ways.
Could you just open the capsule and add into your smoothie?
You could. Okay. You could. Because see, the herbs that we have in the capsules are just dried.
Okay.
When you dry an herb, it has 4 times more food value than if it's fresh. So it's a concentrated.
So
That's a good idea.
you could just buy ginger
Root.
ground ginger.
The only thing about the ground ginger that I have a challenge with, like in a spice rack, is how long it's been there, and does it have any MSG? Has it got any preservative? That's my challenge. I question that. When was it ground? You know, all of
Well,
those
we do
things.
have organic.
Yeah, and the organic would be a better way to go.
I have a question.
Okay,
All of these things that we've talked about are for humans.
right. All of these things are for humans, but yes, they can be used on animals.
So
That
any
is
of
an
the-
excellent question.
yeah,
Yeah.
any of these things that we're talking about, you can use for the dog and
Horse and
cleanse
cat and
them
all that,
At
yeah.
the same time you're doing yours.
And I would recommend it that way. When you do a parasite cleanse, give it to your animals, especially if you sleep with them and have them in the house. Yes.
What is the dosing for animals?
Okay. If you have a Great Pyrenees, it's going to be the same as you. You know, if you have a Great Dane, it's going to be the same as you. But you got this little tiny Chihuahua, it's going to be like a child's dosage, right? So much smaller. Just consider body weight. I had a dog one time. There was a Pomeranian, already grown. And when I got the dog, they told me it had gotten diagnosed with heartworms and needed to be on heartworm medication. Well, I don't choose pharmaceuticals a lot for me. I always try to find something natural. So I said, well, I'm not going to give them the heartworm medication anymore. I'm just going to give them something natural.
And heartworm medication is hard.
It is hard.
Very hard.
It can very much affect their liver and, you know,
It's
all
arse-
that.
It's almost arsenic that they give them.
It's
Because
strong.
it kills off the bad, but it makes the dog so sick.
Yes.
It's
And
horrible.
the smaller the dog, the worse, of course, that can be.
Mhm.
So I used for my dog hawthorn to strengthen the
Mhm.
circulatory system. And we have it in a liquid, so it was easy to do. You know, big dogs, you can just kind of shove a capsule in the mouth and it's no problem.
Yeah.
But little dogs, I like having the liquids. We have black walnut in a liquid, so I use the black walnut liquid, the hawthorn, the liquid, and then garlic. You know, we have it in the oil, and all of my animals. Now, I'm not going to tell you that all animals will like garlic, but all of the animals I've ever had like oil. Like if I
They
ate a
love
can of
garlic.
sardines and I get all the sardines out, there's some oil left. Oh man, they just all over that. So many times when I would do that kind of thing, I'd just squeeze the garlic oil in there and mix it up with the sardine oil. No problem.
And this is for if they were diagnosed with heartworms
Well,
or
or just
just
preventative.
preventative.
You know,
Yeah.
I did it daily because of the heartworm diagnosis, but if you were just trying to prevent stuff and notice they were always scooting a little rear end on the carpet and stuff like that, which are signs,
Yeah.
you know, I would just do it anyway. Plus, you can also
Yeah.
put the garlic oil literally on the rectum.
And you can, and if you have the capsules, you just and put it on their food and
Yeah.
they'll eat it.
Most of the time
Most of the
they
time
do.
they're gonna
Now,
eat it.
there are animals who
Oh,
sometimes don't.
Oh,
The other thing I like to do with my animals is put liquid chlorophyll in the water because that deodorizes the taste of the garlic because green foods are your natural, you know, deodorizer period. So their breath smells better and all that. And that's also helping with their calcium. A lot of the smaller dogs, which is what I have a lot of structural issues. And so that calcium works good in the green, you know, green foods, most
And you
of them.
put the chlorophyll in their water.
Yes,
Yeah.
not very much, a little dab of do, yeah.
You can drink it too.
Yeah.
when you want
I
it.
like
It's really good.
I like it. I give it to my dogs. I give it to me. It works real
It's
well.
minty.
It's minty and it's good. They like it.
It's very refreshing at summertime.
And many dogs, once they might turn their nose to it the first time, but once they start drinking it, then they won't drink water unless it's in there. I mean, it's funny how that happens that way. But yep. But yes, all this can be used on animals just like us. And I think it's a positive thing. All right. Has anybody else got any other thoughts or questions? Did y'all learn something? Yes, ma'am.
My son has one of his face is kind of rough. So is that going to be the sign of parasites?
You know, it's hard to say, but it wouldn't hurt anything for us to do a consult and check him and see if he tests for any of this.
Mm-hmm.
But we were talking about this last night that change the pillowcase.
He has it since he was born.
Okay, all right. Well, I hear you, but keep things clean with a child or a teenager. They do better because our hair and our skin and all that, and if we don't wash the pillowcase as often as we need to, it can cause our face to break out easy. The other thing is, if he's had it for that long since he was born, you know, if he hasn't ever done a cleanse, it wouldn't hurt anything to do. Now, topically, we have this product called Silver Shield Gel that you can topically apply. And it also helps if later he's touching his face for bacteria not to build up on our skin. So there's some definite things. How old is he?
13.
Okay. Well, I do consults on little people, big people, adults, all that. And I would love to check him and see exactly what's going on, but it's possible.
One other question, the Nature's Enzyme Spray.
Yes, Nature's Fresh Enzyme Spray.
Have anything to do with this parasite?
I mean,
situation at all?
They don't.
Bedding, dog bedding.
in the bedding and all of that, the parasites wouldn't like it per se, but no, it's not necessarily anti-parasitic, although it is liquid enzymes, and enzymes do help to destroy that shell. So like if we were going out of the country and we knew we were going to expose to water that has parasites in it, okay, I would take enzymes that had hydrochloric acid, because hydrochloric acid helps to kill a lot of different parasites before they ever even have time to latch on. We would do probiotics. Those are just things we would automatically take with us along with the charcoal in case we did have exposure. So the Nature's Fresh has a place, but not specifically.
About the
The diatomaceous earth definitely has a place with parasites.
The enzyme spray will kill the bugs if you spray it on.
Directly.
So
Yeah.
it's a good thing to spray his bed with them.
I think it is.
on a daily
Plus,
basis.
it helps the odor of the bed.
Yeah, no doubt. I need to pour it in some
For sure. You know, I don't know about y'all, but in the winter, we don't bathe the dogs as much as we do in the summer just because, you know, it's cold. And so they have a little bit more body odor, you know, for sure. Anybody else? Got a thought? Well, I appreciate y'all joining us. I appreciate everybody joining us on YouTube. Y'all know this will be archived soon, and y'all can watch it later and share it with other people. Let everybody know. And I appreciate it, and I hope y'all have a very blessed night.